It is easily one of the most contentious murder trials of our time. Who killed Aarushi Talwar?
Hello everyone, namaste, welcome or welcome back to my channel. This is Amisha Singh Chauhan, and if you're looking for something fun, dark and mysterious, then you're the right place. So do not forget to subscribe to my channel and also hit that bell icon so that every time I'm here with a new case to talk about, you'll get to know about it. So before I begin with today's case, I just want to apologize in the very beginning that it is raining really heavily outside. The wind is howling crazy, so you might hear a lot of noises. I waited for a couple of days, but it's not getting silent over here in Bombay. And it's literally 3 o'clock in the morning, so just for this video. So anyways, let's begin with today's case. Today we're going to talk about the murder case of Aarushi Talwar and Hemraj. If you're Indian, then I'm sure that you have definitely heard about this case previously, even once, if not in detail much. But for the ones who do not know about this case, let me tell you that it is one of the highly conspirated, very scandalous case of India. Till date, it still remains unsolved and the entire murder remains a mystery. So without any further ado, let's begin with the murder case. What happened is that Aarushi Talwar, who was soon to be 14 years old, her body was found in her bedroom on her own bed by her parents on 16th of May 2008. At that time, inside the apartment of the Talwars was also present their housemaid, who was hired just 6 days before the murder took place. Now, when their housemaid Bharti saw this entire scene, she immediately ran outside and she told the neighbors about this, who then asked the security guards of the colony of the society to dial 100 and inform the police about this murder. Now, even before the police arrived at the scene, there were around 15 to 20 people in the Talwar's house. Now, these people were Dr. Rajesh Talwar and Dr. Nupur Talwar's friends and family. So what I'm trying to say over here is that even before the police arrived, the entire crime scene was contaminated. Now, even though when the police did arrive, Dr. Rajesh Talwar convinced the police that the culprit, that the one who murdered his little girl Aarushi Talwar, was none other than their domestic live-in hell, Hemraj. Hemraj was a 45-year-old man originally from Nepal, and the moment the Talwars found their daughter's body in her bedroom, Hemraj was missing. So obviously the suspicion directly went to the domestic hell. Now, Dr. Rajesh Talwar convinced and kind of pushed the police to travel to Nepal to track him down and just catch him. He even offered 25,000 rupees to cover all the expenses that would be required to travel to Nepal and get him back. The police did exactly that. They were convinced by Dr. Talwar that there was nothing in the apartment or in the society to look for. The culprit was out there somewhere in Nepal, probably in his village, and they should get him. Now, Hemraj was definitely found on 17th of May 2008, but not in Nepal, but in exact same place, that is in Jalvayu Vihar, Sector 25, Noida, Uttar Pradesh, India. So what happened is that when there were 15 to 20 people in the apartment of Talwars, couple of them noticed bloodstains on the staircase that would go to the terrace. In fact, there were bloodstains on the handle, on the door handle of the terrace as well. When one of these people informed a constable who was present at the crime scene, the constable just ignored the entire thing, saying that it could be rust. But later on, people were convinced that there was something definitely happening in the terrace. But the terrace was locked. So they went to Dr. Rajesh Talwar, asked him for terrace keys, and he directly ignored them. He went inside his room and did not come out of it for a long time. So the police were left with no other option but to break the door. So they broke the lock and they opened the door, and that is when they found the bloody drag marks on the terrace. It was somewhat 20 feet long, and when they followed it, they found a body. The body of Hemraj, which was halfly decomposed. It was by the water tank and covered with a top of a cooler or air conditioner. Now, immediately the Talwars were informed about this and they were asked to come back. They were actually on their way to Haridwar to immerse the ashes of their daughter in the Ganga river as per the Hinduism ritual. So they came back. Dr. Nupur Talwar, the mother of Aarushi, she decided to sit back and stay inside the car with the ashes of her daughter because it was a bad omen if she would go inside the house again with the ashes. Whereas Dr. Rajesh Talwar, he got on the terrace and he clearly said that he cannot recognize the body. Later on, he would defend by saying that the body was decomposing, so that's why he couldn't recognize the body. Whereas one of Hemraj's friend actually recognized the very same decomposing body. So anyways, from the very beginning, people were suspecting Hemraj to be the one who murdered Arushi Talwar because he was missing ever since her body was found in the bedroom. So now the question comes that who murdered Hemraj? And there is one thing for definitely sure, that Hemraj did not murder Arushi. So now the suspicion goes to an old domestic help of the Talwars, Vishnu Sharma. Now Vishnu Sharma was working for the Talwars for quite a long time, and oftentimes he would go for vacation. So every time he went for a vacation, he would get a substitute, probably someone from his village or a distant relative. Hemraj was introduced to Talwars by Vishnu Sharma himself. So after he came back from this one vacation of his, he was informed by the Talwars that Hemraj was now the permanent domestic help and Vishnu no more had the job. As suggested by the Talwars, the police suspected that Vishnu Sharma might have had murdered Arushi and Hemraj to get a revenge because he lost his job. But after he was interrogated, there was no evidence found against him. Also, he had a very strong alibi. When the murder took place, he was in Nepal. So he was given a clean sheet and was removed from the suspicion list. Now what happened over here is that the police slowly started suspecting the Talwars, especially Dr. Rajesh Talwar. I'll tell you why. So the very first thing that really made them question the Talwars was the distance between Arushi's bed and the Talwar's bed, both in separate rooms. The distance between them was just 7 to 8 feet. So now you're telling me that someone entered the house and murdered their daughter and they did not hear anything, they had no inkling of doubt, and they slept through the entire murder. That is really questionable, and that was a point that was used against the Talwars again and again throughout the case. The second point over here was that there was no evidence of forced entry. There were no doors broken, there were no windows that were shattered, so it clearly looked like anyone who entered the house and committed the murder had the access to it. The third most important point over here, which brought the Talwars under suspicion, was the entire crime scene. If you look at the crime scene pictures, it clearly looks that it was dressed up. The bed sheets were properly made and there was blood stains everywhere. There were blood stains on the opposite wall, on the bathroom door, on the floor. But there were no blood stains on the pink pillow which was right beside her. Also, Arushi's school bag was just right by her body, which also did not have blood stains on it. There were soft toys, there were books. So according to Dr. Nupur Talwar, the previous night when she entered the room to switch on the Wi-Fi router, Arushi was reading Chetan Bhagat's book. And this book also did not have blood stains. So there were a lot of blood in the room, there were blood stains everywhere, but these items that were placed on her bed did not have blood stains. That was really questionable. Now here we can say directly that the only person or the only people who had access, the ability and motive to dress the entire scene were none other than the Talwars themselves. If an outsider would have been the culprit, they wouldn't have taken the risk to expose themselves and sit down there and dress up the entire crime scene. Now, the diversionary tactic that Dr. Rajesh Talwar had used also stood against him. You remember in the beginning I told that he convinced the police to go to Nepal in search of Hemraj. The police believed that this was a diversion tactic that Dr. Rajesh Talwar used so that when the police would leave their apartment, he would be able to dispose of Hemraj's body, which was on the terrace. But because of all the journalists and all the family and friends that were around them during that time, they were unsuccessful to do so. Now, during the investigation, they interrogated a lot of people. One of them was Anmol. Anmol was actually Arushi's friend. According to the call records of Arushi's mobile phones, she had called and texted him in past 25 days for more than 600 times. The police knew that there was some kind of a very strong relationship between these two people. So they directly questioned Anmol. And during these questionings, it came out that Arushi had confided in Anmol about her father's affair to a certain doctor. Now, this doctor we would find out would be Dr. Anita Durrani. Now, again, there was no evidence of this affair. So the police assumed that there is a possibility that Hemraj knew about this affair as well and maybe tried to blackmail Dr. Talwar, and he felt threatened. And in his rage and anger, he murdered Hemraj. And when his daughter objected, he murdered her too. Now this was one theory by the UP police. Now the second person who played a very important role during the interrogation was Hemraj's wife. So according to Hemraj's wife, who lives in a small village in Nepal, she said that just 15 days before the murders, Hemraj actually told her that he felt his life was in danger because of Dr. Rajesh Talwar. Dr. Rajesh Talwar was also not paying him his salary for quite a long time. Now all of these things directly pointed towards the Talwars for the suspicion of the twin murders. So what happened is that on 23rd of May 2008, Dr. Rajesh Talwar was arrested. Now obviously the Talwar supporters, the family and the friends were not happy with this decision. So what happens is that on 31st of May 2008, the case transfers to CBI. Now the side note over here is that there were two different teams who investigated this case of the CBI itself. Now these two CBI teams had contradictory closures. Now first CBI team, they started the investigation afresh. They got this information that just a couple of days before the murders took place, Dr. Rajesh Talwar actually had a small quarrel with one of his clinic's compounder, Krishna. Now the suspicion went to Krishna that there is a possibility that he tried to take a revenge on Dr. Rajesh Talwar, and to do so, he murdered Arushi. Now Krishna was detained on suspicion. Also in his bedroom were found a kukri which supposedly had bloodstains on it, as well as trousers too. So he was taken into custody. And at the same time, there were other two servants as well who were taken into custody, which were Rajkumar, who worked for Duranis, Dr. Praful Durani and Dr. Anita Durani, and the Talwar's neighbor's servant, Vijay Mandal. Now, when these three people were taken into custody, they underwent a lot of scientific tests like lie detecting tests, narco tests, brain mapping, as well as psychological assessments as well. Now, in these tests, specifically in narco tests, they gave different versions of the murder that took place on 16th of May 2008. In particular, Krishna himself gave 2 to 3 different versions of how the murder took place, and he did mention a second murderer. Now, depending on the person who was relaying all the events, the characters changed. Like for example, in Vijay Mandal's case, it was Rajkumar and Krishna who went to Arushi's bedroom to rape her. Whereas in Rajkumar's case, it was Vijay and Krishna who did it. So you're getting what I'm trying to say. Now in their different versions, they kind of had the similar outline of the story. So what happened was that Hemraj supposedly invited these three people in his room inside the Talwar's apartment. Now over there, they drank some beer and alcohol and they were watching Nepali songs. Now that is when after midnight, these people, they went outside to get ice maybe from the freezer, and that is when they noticed that Arushi's bedroom was open. So they went inside and they tried to rape her, but when she resisted, they took out the kukri and they slit her throat with it. By the way, in the post-mortem report, it was concluded that both Hemraj and Arushi Talwar, they had their throats slit, and initially they were bludgeoned with a blunt weapon. In Hemraj's case, it was on the back of the head, and in Arushi's case, it was just above her left eye. So it was assumed that the kukri was the murder weapon over here. But the thing was that when the kukri was taken for forensic investigation, there were no bloodstains or DNA found on the kukri. Now at the same time, both Dr. Nupur Talwar and Dr. Rajesh Talwar, they also underwent a lot of scientific tests like narco and brain mapping, where the results were inconclusive. Basically, none of the results of these tests directly pointed towards Talwars as the prime suspect. Now the CBI team in one of their press conference stated that this case was unsolved. The evidences were not sufficient. The UP police, they could not even preserve the crime scene. They did not do a really good job in accumulating all the evidences. Now because of which both the CBI team number 1 and team number 2 had a lot of difficulties in doing the investigation. Now in such cases where there are no eyewitnesses, forensic evidences means a lot. It is literally the soul of the case. Now over here in this case, we neither have eyewitnesses nor the forensic evidences are solid. Now the thing with these tests is that in specific narco test is inadmissible in the court. It can be used in assistance to a solid proof, but it cannot be solely presented in the court as an evidence. So in short and simple words, narco test cannot be reliable. Like I was mentioning earlier, that Krishna himself gave 2 to 3 different versions of how the murder took place. But at the same time, there is a 58-minute video leaked on YouTube of the narco test of Krishna, where he's continuously repeating that he did not murder Arushi or Hemraj. He said that he can do anything, but he cannot harm any other human being. Now, like I was talking about the versions of the narco test, basically it can be summarized that these people tried to rape, tried to sexually abuse Arushi, and when she resisted, these people murdered her. Now, it is assumed that Hemraj was present right there. He witnessed all of this, and since he was working with the Talwars for quite a long time, he was loyal, and he said that he would tell the Talwars about the reality. Now, the other 3 servants, they obviously felt threatened, so they murdered Hemraj as well. Now, this is the version from the narco test that the CBI stated. Now, in CBI's report, they named the 3 servants as the prime suspects. At the same time, they did not give the clean sheet to Dr. Rajesh Talwar. The thing is that the servants had very strong alibi. Krishna was with his family when the murders were committed. According to the post-mortem report, both Hemraj and Arushi Talwar were murdered between midnight and 1 a.m. on 16th of May 2008. And Krishna's family and his landlord give a testimony that he was right there in his house when the murder supposedly took place. Rajkumar, who was the servant of the Duranis, he was actually with Dr. Praful Durrani. He had gone with Dr. Praful Durrani to railway station to receive Dr. Anita Durrani. They came back home, they had dinner, and they last saw him around 12:30. And from the Durrani's place to Talwars, it is roughly 20 minutes on a bicycle. So it is not possible for Rajkumar to be at Durrani's place around 12:30 and travel to the Talwars in 20 minutes and then murder 2 people. Also, the security guard said that after midnight, no outsider entered the society. Though both the UP police and the CBI teams did not really focus on this testimony because it was not foul-proof. Other than that, there were no fingerprints or DNA that could be found in the Talwar's place which could prove the presence of the servants when the murders took place. And like I mentioned earlier, that the narco test could not be reliable. Later on, the servants complained and they accused CBI. In particular, Krishna named Arun Kumar, who was heading the CBI team, the first CBI team. He said that Arun Kumar tried to force him, tried to push him, make a confession in regards with the twin murders. Now, the first CBI team had no solid evidence, so they were left with no other option but to let the 3 servants go in September of 2008. Now, in 2009, a new CBI team was formed, which was headed by SP Neelab Kishore. Now, this CBI team immediately started questioning the doctors who did the post-mortem of Arushi Talwar and Hemraj, in specific with Dr. Sunil Dore. Now, Dr. Sunil Dore immediately gave a new statement. Initially, it was found out that there were no semen found in the vaginal swabs which were taken from Arushi's body. Now, according to Dr. Sunil Dore, Arushi's hymen was ruptured. Also, her vagina and cervix was dilated, which can imply that she probably had intercourse before she was murdered. Consensual or not was not stated. Now, the other doctor who did a post-mortem on Hemraj said that his private part was swollen, which could again point out that he probably had an erection or he was in the middle of intercourse when he was murdered. But later on, a group of medical experts actually said that this could be a kind of a side effect of death. Like, there are various stages of death and this could be one of the side effects of it. I don't know much about it in detail, but this is what I understood from it. So this point was not taken further into consideration. But eventually, Dr. Sunil Dore actually made a statement, quite a shocking one. He said in the CBI court that Dinesh Talwar, Dr. Rajesh Talwar's brother, actually asked him to speak to a Dr. Dogra. We don't know who this Dr. Dogra is. So basically, Dr. Sunil Dore spoke to a certain Dr. Dogra over a telephone, where Dr. Dogra asked him to omit anything related to sexual abuse from Arushi's post-mortem. Then again, CBI has no telephone phonic evidence in regard to this, but Dr. Sunil Dore is quite adamant on this fact. Now, in the UP Police's case and the first CBI team case, they failed in identifying the murder weapon, but the second team of CBI actually identified a golf club number 5 as the murder weapon. Now, Dr. Rajesh Talwar was a beginner in golf, but he had a full set of golf club which was gifted to him by one of his neighbors. Now, when the CBI team took hold of this golf club, they were able to match the dimensions of this golf club number 5 to the triangular shaped injury which was on Arushi Talwar and Hemraj. When it was sent to CFSL for further forensic investigation, the experts said that this particular golf club, it was thoroughly washed and cleaned, so much so that it was visibly different from the others. So hence there were no blood stains, fingerprints or DNA found on this golf club. Now, like I was mentioning before, there's different version to the motive of the murders. Now, all this time, CBI team was actually speculating that Dr. Rajesh Talwar found Hemraj and Arushi in Arushi's bedroom in objectionable, compromising position, and out of rage, out of anger, in honor killing, he murdered his daughter and Hemraj. A lot of organization in regards to human rights and feminists really questioned the CBI team on doing character assassination of innocent people because they do not have any solid evidence in regard to this motive. So anyways, the CBI team number 2 on 29th of December 2010 gave out a closure report where they did mention Dr. Rajesh Talwar as the prime suspect. Whereupon they added that even though they have circumstantial evidences, but there is no satisfactory evidence that the Talwars, especially Dr. Rajesh Talwar, murdered Hemraj and Arushi. Now, this closure report were in different parts. Let's talk about for it a second. Let's start with the servants over here. So the servants were directly given a clean sheet because there were no fingerprints, no DNA that were found inside the Talwars' apartment, which would point out that these 3 servants were present in the house when the murders took place. Also, they had strong alibis and the narco test cannot be taken to the court solely. So they were given a clean sheet. Now, with the parents, like I mentioned, that they had circumstantial evidences, but there were a lot of gaps in between. So on this basis, they cannot be convicted for the crimes. Now, the various other reasons why they suspected the parents were obviously because of the entire dressing up of the crime scene. They also took in the points which the UP police used, like there were no evidences for forced entry, Dr. Rajesh Talwar's diversionary tactics, also his avoidance in providing the terrace key and his attempt to remove sexual abuse pointers from Arushi Talwar's post-mortem report. Now, the third point over here were the intruders. The CBI clearly mentioned, even the UP police, even the first team of CBI and the second team CBI themselves clearly agree that there were no outsider involved other than obviously the 3 servants who were later on given clean sheets. They focused on the point that if it would have been an outsider, how did they get the access to the door keys of Arushi Talwar's bedroom? Dr. Nupur Talwar herself had said that the door would get locked and she herself had the keys to herself. So how were they able to access to these keys, which were later on found in the living room after the murders? Also, the Talwars were the only one who were capable of dressing up the entire crime scene. Now, let's talk about the insufficient evidences. Like I said, the CBI always talked about the UP police incapability of preserving the crime scene and failure in accumulating solid evidences. Now, there were several gaps to the circumstantial evidences they had. For example, there is no proof of Hemraj being murdered in Arushi's room. Also, Hemraj's blood were not found in the Talwar's clothing, which according to the drivers of Talwar, they were wearing the exact same clothing previous night around 10:30 p.m. when he came back to give them the car keys. Also, the blood-soaked clothes of the murderers, the cloth which was used to wipe out all the blood, and the bed sheet in which Hemraj's body was allegedly covered and dragged on the terrace were also not found. And then comes the murder weapon. Nobody could identify the murder weapon. The golf club did not have any DNA or fingerprints on it or bloodstains. And a group of experts actually ruled out the kukri as well. So what was the murder weapon? Nobody has any idea. The next thing comes that the CBI team actually failed to identify the motive, the clear motive behind the murders. They could not even make out the exact events that took place between midnight and 6 a.m. of 16th of May 2008. Now, because of all of these things, including the narco test of the Talwars, which were inconclusive, the CBI came to a conclusion that they do not have enough evidence, and hence they gave a closure report to the court saying that the case should be closed. But here comes the twist. In January of 2011, the Talwars actually petitioned against the CBI's attempt to close the case. Now, this petition was rejected by Magistrate Preeti Singh of a special CBI court in Ghaziabad. Following which, on 9th of February 2011, used the closure report of the second CBI teams as a charge sheet and summoned the Talwars to the court. When the Talwars received this information, they directly went to Allahabad High Court and Supreme Court to petition against the summons, where they were rejected. So they had no other option but to go to the court and present their defense. Now over here, the Talwars presented their arguments. In their defense, they said that they would never honor kill because they themselves were from different castes and they were married and happy together. Also, there were no evidences for the supposed affair that Dr. Rajesh Talwar was having with Dr. Anita Durrani. Other than that, they said that since it was May, it was really hot, they had air conditioners on both in Arushi's room and in their bedroom. So the chances of them hearing anything happening in her bedroom were very slight. Also, they had proof that Arushi had throat infection, because of which she wouldn't have been able to scream, and even if she would have been able to scream, the noise wouldn't have been loud enough for them to hear. Now, Dr. Nupur Talwar, for the key allegation, said that she might have had left the key of Arushi's bedroom door to the lock when she entered the room to switch on Wi-Fi router. Now, there is a conspiracy regarding to Wi-Fi router as well, which was busted by the CBI team because it had some technical fault in it, because of which it would get switched on and off by itself. Other than all of this, the Talwars, for their defense, they actually requested CBI to send the golf club for a touch DNA test. The CBI team actually consulted a molecular genetics scientist who was also the director of the Center for DNA Fingerprinting and Diagnostics. Now, according to this expert, the touch DNA test is not reliable, especially in these kind of cases, where the evidences were taken into custody much later after the murders took place. Now, all of this ended on 25th of November 2013, where the High Court convicted the Talwars for the twin murders. They were also convicted on the charges of destroying evidences, misleading the probe, and filing a wrong FIR. They were sentenced of life imprisonment. Now, this is what the CBI judge Shyamlal said while giving out the verdict. Parents are the best protectors of their own children. That is the order of the human nature. But there have been freaks in the history of mankind where the father and the mother became the killer of their own progeny. So when this verdict came out, the Talwars stated that this was miscarriage of justice. But this was not the end of their case. On 12th of October 2017, the High Court acquitted the Talwars of all the charges, stating that the evidences were not satisfactory beyond reasonable doubt. Therefore, the Talwars must be given benefit of doubt instead of being convicted solely on suspicion. In simple words, what the High Court judgment was, there were no satisfactory evidences. There were no solid evidences. Whatever they had was circumstantial evidences, and there were so many gaps in this case that these two people cannot be convicted on suspicion. So they were let go. But at the same time, they did not give clean sheet to the Talwars. So it means that if in future the investigating team, if they able to find any solid evidences in regard to the Talwars being the culprit behind the twin murders, then they will be immediately charged and convicted. Now, the latest update of this case is that on 8th of March 2018, the CBI challenged the acquittal in Supreme Court, which was admitted by the Supreme Court. Now, the case is still going on and there is no conclusion. Now, the thing is that I can relate this case directly to John Bennett Ramsey's case. Even though John Bennett Ramsey's murder took place in United States of America in Colorado, and here Arushi was murdered in Noida, India. In both of these cases, the law enforcement, the judicial system, the humanity failed to give justice to these little girls. In the end of the day, they lost their lives and their culprits are still out there. There are a lot of versions to this case. There are a lot of things that were going on, a lot of evidences, a lot of conspiracies. I might have had missed out few, but my main duty over here, which I felt, was that to give out a neutral form to this case. If you go on internet, if you go on YouTube, you will find different videos and articles. But what I have noticed is that they always show one side of this case. Either they are showing the parents as the victims, or the other hand, they would show the parents as the villains. But I felt like I had to give you all the facts for you to understand the case in detail, which I think I did. Now here we come to the end of this video. I do have a question for you, lot of questions. Tell me what you think about this case. Do you think the parents murdered Arushi Talwar and Hemraj, or do you believe that it was the servants who tried to sexually abuse Arushi Talwar and murdered her because she resisted, and murdered Hemraj because he was the sole witness? What are your opinions on this case? If you'll ask me, honestly, I've been tracking this case ever since it happened. I guess I was 7 or 8 years old, and I remember sitting down in front of the television with my father and discussing the facts about this case. Every time I think about it, I have a different version. Sometimes I believe it's the parents, sometimes I believe that it is the servants. I do not feel that it is fair enough for me to directly conclude and say that this person did it, because in the end of the day, one of them are definitely innocents. So do comment down your views and your opinions on this case. If you found this video informative, do hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.